friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a small project. Who would have thunk that that would be a thing? I have been complaining recently. I was showing my Notion database of boning that I have, and I was complaining that I hate the storage that I have for it because I'm just like throwing it in a drawer, and that's not very helpful. It's especially bad when we're talking about a giant pile of boning like this, where I have to every time I have to take these out and measure them and figure them out, and just kind of stupid. So as you can see here, I've noodled out sort of what this is going to look like. It's going to be 30 inches long by 14 inches wide, so that you can have a 19-inch section that actually holds the boning. This 5 inches becomes a pocket, and this 6 inches right here becomes the top flap. You are going to have 2 rows of 13 things, so you need 26 holes total to hold all the boning that I have, including 2 that are sort of misc carriers, so 1 small and 1 large. So what you need as far as fabric is this is the outer lining here. This is a twill that is just black. I like this, it's kind of soft and fuzzy. It is 30 by 14. And then here is a lining piece, which right now doesn't really look like it, but if I zoom in here, you can see that it does have a very cool pattern to it. So this is going to be the interior lining. And then you need a pocket that is 14 inches wide and 20 inches long, because you're going to fold that in half and it's going to become 10 inches long. And then you need a tie. So I chose this random ribbon because it was in my stash, and that's how I'm rolling right now. So if it's probably too long, that's about 60 inches. I think it's going to be way too long. I will cut it if that's the case. So that will work out just fine. So I'm going to get cracking here. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is lay out the outer fabric, and this is right side up, so that is going to be a thing. I'm going to take this guy here, this ribbon, and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to find 20 inches up. So this is 18. And then I can just add another 2 to that. It's kind of vague. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to stick that right there. And I will just secure it with a pin real quick. Doesn't need to hold very long because I'm going to take this pin right back out. Then I'm going to take the lining layer and I'm going to lay it down right on top of that as evenly as I possibly can. There's always a bunch of squidging that goes around here. This doesn't matter. It's just a boning roll, so no big deal. You could 100% adapt this to crochet or knitting needles, any long tubular thing, any kind of thing you really need. You could make a roll for pens. I have one for my pens. This is how I figured out how to do this, is I looked at the one that my pens go in. This is now secured in here, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is sew all the way around the outside, including this down at 1/4 inch, and I'm going to leave a hole that is, 4 or 5 inches big on one side so that I can stick my hand through there to pop it through when I pull the whole thing through. For this project, I am using my brand spanking new Janome Continental M7, so I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I can do on here. I am primarily going to use the HP foot and HP plate, which I find to be super awesome. It's the equivalent of a walking foot. And I'm going to do a little monogrammy bit where I put the sizes of the boning onto the holder so that I can keep track of which one's which. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put the HP plate in. This is super badass. A lot of you guys have been asking me how I like my new machine. I freaking love it. I think it's amazing. And I'm super excited to be using it. Also gonna want this black thread. You can just drop this plate right on it, and it's all good to go. Need to switch to the Janome foot, so I'm gonna do that super quick. I just take my feet out. This guy, slid it back here, and pop this guy on. And we are good to go. We can release that. So now that that's in place, I can go ahead and do all the stitching on this. I love the throat space in here because it also lets me just drop that there. So as you can tell, I have done some customization to my Janome so far. So I have made it so that my needle stays down when I stop stitching so that I can turn quarters easily. I have chosen to use this auto backstitch feature, which I really, really like. This also cuts your thread for you and lifts the foot up for you when you want it to. So that's awesome. You can also throttle your speed. I have mine set in the like middle range because I am not ready for fast yet. You can also do something cool, which I'll show you guys later, which is unplug your foot and use the start and stop button, which I did not have any idea what that was like before, and now I've decided I really like it for some things. So I'm super into this machine. It's amazing. Astute viewers may notice that I actually put the ribbon on backwards. The ribbon should be inside this case when you do it. So just this little nubbin should point to the outside. Okay, so the next part of this process is to go ahead and flip it inside out. I use a bone folder / point turner to go ahead and pop out the corners, and I'm going to do that and then iron the whole thing. As you saw, I also folded under this guy 1/4 inch, so it's basically smooth there. And so that's all complete. I'm also going to pull this up 5 inches and figure out where that is, and I'm going to iron this down so that I have a nice crease. Okay, so this is our pocket fabric, and we are going to go ahead and just fold this in half, making sure that this is now 14 inches wide and 10 inches tall, and we're going to sew down 1/4 inch on each side of this and then flip it inside out. Okay, I've gone ahead and done that. I've chosen the worst color to show you guys because it's black. I am clipping the corners on these because it does make the flip more clean. So now I'm going to flip it inside out, press it, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch that top seam there at like just a top stitch, sort of 1/8 of an inch situation. Just gives it a little bit of a finished look. Okay, so I'm going to do this on both the pocket and the initial pocket, which is actually this, where I'm going to draw in on the width side the slots that are going to be here, because I'm going to need to sew along these lines, but also they will guide me going forward because I want to go ahead and embroider the numbers that coincide with the boning sizes onto here. Okay, so now I've stuck it into the fold area, which is what I needed to do because this is where it will live. This is the second pocket. So I'm going to mark these same lines, but on this guy, because these will be one stitch line later. Alright, so these are all transferred and ready to go, and now we are going to do some fun creative stuff. What I want to do is go ahead and embroider in the sizes. And I'm going to use the point system so that that works out. Can get in more space, so it'll be 12, 12.5, etc. I do need to do a smaller number than these because this is slightly larger than the case I am. Also, it stitches sort of this way down it, so I need to have sort of a starting line. So I'm going to draw in a starting line and then start them all there. And I have made myself this little template so I know the top piece, which is this one, has these numbers, and the bottom has these numbers, and I can cross them off as I go so that I do not get confused about what's going on. Okay, so for this we are switching back out of the HP foot and HP plates back to our regular plates and a different foot. So it's telling me to use the proper foot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this also has my F foot on it, which looks a whole lot like the normal A foot, so not really sure what the difference is, but we're going to run with it. Alright, so we're going to choose block. We're going to choose small caps. That's not a point. That would explain why that has happened. But die. Okay, I'm going to drop my needle right into that line that I drew to help guide me. Drop this down. I have unplugged my foot, which is an interesting thing you can do, and then you can just hit start stop. And what I have just learned is that I need to start it way sooner, so let's start right on the edge there. Drop the foot. Running another test. And that came out perfectly, so that's exciting. I go ahead and sew all of these onto this, so wish me luck. What it looks like, just so you know. The last pocket is gonna have MISC written on it, I think, so I need to go ahead and try that one. So I'm gonna do a sample, and I will cut all these in between strings so that that's not what you see, but I'm pretty pleased with how this looks. Let's see what happens when we drop it right there. Looks pretty good, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it on this last one. I do need to mention that this is not in any way an embroidery machine. It's not intended to be an embroidery machine. It's actually a quilting machine that I believe is also suited very well to costuming. And that is because it has all this throat space. It's fantastic for that because you can stick ruffles and ruffles and ruffles through it. It's very conducive to big skirts, big everything going through here. It's very powerful. It can sew super fast. It's borderline industrial, even though it's not industrial. So the reason I picked this instead of getting an embroidery machine, which, believe me, I would love a standalone embroidery machine. I want to be able to embroider while I sew, so I definitely want them to be separate. But also, this machine is really good for costume stuff. But it can do simple things like this, which I think is pretty awesome. Okay, so there we go. That's really great. I'm gonna go grab the other piece and I'm gonna do that one. Okay, I'm thinking this is looking really great. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and top stitch all the way around the edge so it attaches this pocket in nicely, but still gives it plenty of room over here on these numbers. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew from down here to up here on each one of these to make the columns. And I'm going to back stitch at both ends to keep it secure. And then we're done. We can load this thing up. Pretty excited. Okay, so here it is. It's looking really good. I'm super proud of it. I like it. I am now going to load this thing up. Okay, so we're all done. I think this thing is awesome. I would like to go over lessons learned for those of you who are using this maybe to make your own. So let me talk through a few of the things I might do differently next time, and I might make another one. Okay, first of all, since this distance from here to here is 5 inches and the flap was meant to be 6 inches, I think this rope situation could have been more centered. Also, it can be significantly shorter, so I'm going to cut that off. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what I've noticed is that the most popular things for me to have, or conversely, the most unpopular sizes of spiral steel are in fact 13 and 7. And they're both stacked on top of each other, which made 13 really hard to get into. And then I found out that I have even more 13, and that won't even fit in here. I am absolutely going to put that in MISC for right now. But what I think I might do is actually make a second boning holder just for spiral steel, so that they are separate. At first I was like, oh, they could be in the same one and that would be fine. Another thing I might do is make this 1.5 inches wide per thing, so that they have a little bit of extra room in them. So, because like 8's pretty packed in here. Like this is a pretty bulky one. And I'm sort of lucky that these both are empty because it gives it a natural fold place, but that is not how it's always going to be. And you know, effectively this thing should be fairly full. So I think what I will do is make another one of these for spiral steel, and I will do that with 1.5 inch pocket. If I was going to make another one where I was going to try to do a combo, I might actually make 2-inch pockets and perhaps go 4 levels up. I don't know. I also think that, you know, the thickness of these inside the pockets themselves does matter, but if you have them in wider pockets, they should spread out more, which should make the stacking easier. So that is a thing that is possible. So you could do these in a bunch of different formats, but basically you get the gist of how to make one of these rolls. You can flat fold it like I did. You can also just literally roll it up and tie it up, and either way it works really well. So overall, I'm super happy with this project. I think it worked great. My machine did awesome on it. Going from this, which has 2 layers, to 4 layers here went well. Was not a problem for my machine, which was really great. I'm really glad that I did this project, and I hope if you guys decide to do this project, then go ahead and like tag me in pictures on Instagram or whatever and let me see what you guys made. Alrighty, if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so and you like sewing vlogs. And I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye guys!